Hey guys, how you doing? Ovadex here. Hope you're having a great day. Doing something a little bit different today. I'm out here at the Wilkes-Barre International Airport because I'm going to take a look at that. Let's go inside.
Welcome to the forward of two bomb bays of B-29 Fifi. Coming in, sir?
Sure.
Watch ahead.
I can see that.
There were two bomb bays on the B-29, and what distinguished her, there's so many things that distinguished her, but what distinguished her in 1944 was capacity. Each one of these bomb bays could hold 20 of these 500-pound bombs, or a total of 10,000 pounds for each bomb bay, 20,000 pounds of destructive capacity, and was originally designed to bomb from high altitude. When they discovered the jet stream over Japan kind of fouled up the Norden bomb site and they couldn't bomb as accurately, they wound up down on the ground essentially under 10,000 feet and dropping incendiaries because so much of Japan was built of wood to get the mission accomplished.
Did that make them more susceptible to flak?
It made them more susceptible to both flak and enemy aircraft, which was why taking complete domination of the skies was so critical to winning the war. Okay. Japan threw opposition right up until the end, but ultimately the difference from 1941, where they owned the skies, to 1945, when the Allies owned the skies, was what made heavy bombing effective. Okay. She was the first pressurized warplane. You can see that hatch would have been sealed, and the cockpit and forward area would have been pressurized. Behind us, the rear area, which included the gunners, and the rear gunner would have been pressurized. And the only way they could get back and forth for these 12 to 14-hour missions was this tunnel that you see directly over your head, which remained pressurized. So that's why your crews had to be 18, 19, 20-year-old guys, because that's tight.
Squirrely little guys.
And the only, as Todd said, the only crewed lavatory was in the back. So if you need to use the bathroom, you got to be a tumble rat 36,000 feet in the air.
Let's just hope you didn't have to go too bad.
Yeah, well, over the course of 14 hours, you're not going to have a choice at some point. And that's how they would get back to the aft quarters. The bomb bays obviously weren't pressurized, but for the atomic bombs, Fat Man and Little Boy, they actually had to arm them once they were in the air. So the planes converted for those purposes had a little hatch that before they got to altitude and had to pressurize, the bombardier could open and pull the keys that would arm those planes. Other than that, they wouldn't be in this area when they were at altitude at all. Range of about 3,000 to 4,000 miles. Mission times of 12 to 14 hours. If you look at a map of the Pacific, you can kind of see why the Allies took the islands that they chose to take, because they had ultimately to come up with a plan for an invasion of Japan. And so the islands of Tinian were the outer range of where this plane could bomb the mainland. And then Iwo Jima, people ask, why would you take a rock like black stone rock like Iwo Jima? That was the only place they could put an emergency landing spot if the bombers had issues coming back home. So they had to protect their crews. So that's why they fought that battle.
Yeah, they also put the T-51 Mustangs there for escorts.
Which kept these big girls safe. Yeah, it was a combined effort. You know, you read lots about tactical versus strategic air fighting, but ultimately to be successful, they have to go together. Do you have any questions? I promise you, if I don't know it, he does.
How y'all doing? Have you been up to the cockpit yet?
I have not.
That'd be a good time to go. And you can just kind of shadow Todd up there.
I'm still learning.
Easy on that ladder there.
Oh, maybe.
We don't need any more injuries.
I won't promise that.
Maybe your shirt should say trainee.
So what they would do is watch where this guy was going to be in the next few seconds and give a few bursts. And then when they figured right about now, they'd give a long burst because they only had 1,000 rounds of ammunition. That's it. And they'd give a burst and hopefully he ran through it. I used to ask my dad, how many Japanese you shoot down? And he goes, oh, probably none, but I threw a hell of a lot of lead out there for him. And then especially, see, he flew on Navy bombers. They were B-24s, and the Navy called them PP-4Y1s and PP-4Y2 privateers. But they were B-24 Liberator painted blue.
Okay.
And they were flying from the Philippines to French Indochina, which we all know is Vietnam, but back then it was called French Indochina because the Japanese had infiltrated all the way down to the tip of the coast. So the idea was for those guys, take out all the shipping, keep the troops down there so they can't go back north for the invasion that was sure to happen.
Okay.
So they were trying to cut all those guys off. Okay. So they did single plane missions similar to the 29, only they were on their own. So they would fan out, these Navy planes would fan out from the Philippines, and you're pretty much by yourself. So your navigator better be not a Noonan like was with Amelia, because you don't want to wind up in the ocean. That's not a good thing.
Wow.
Now, in my opinion on these aircraft, the most important guy is the navigator.
Okay.
Because when you're flying over thousands and thousands of miles of ocean, if you don't have it wired tight, you're not going to make it back, because they give you just the right amount of fuel you need and maybe 30 minutes extra. You get off, or you get into a headwind, or you screw up. That's what Chris was talking about. That's why EWO is so important. Your plane got damaged, if you got off course and had to readjust, it's like, we're screwed. We're not going to make it back to Tinian, so let's land here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the planners would come out and say, okay, the target is here. How much fuel does it take to get there? That's what I'm going to give you. And then the ordnance guys going, yeah, but we need more ordnance per plane to remove this threat. So they'd fudge a little bit. Well, let's overload the plane a little bit. Well, now you're going to use more fuel. And it's just, because these guys don't know this.
Right.
The flight engineer does, because he knows how much fuel on board he's got and what his weight is.
Okay.
See, we fly empty at like 80,000 pounds. Those guys are up to 140,000. We're burning 400 gallons an hour at 80,000 pounds. Guess what they were burning? We had an old flight engineer in here one day, and he says, yeah, they told us, boys, you get this thing gas with an eye drop. So they would lean the engines back just as much as they could to use the minimum amount of fuel, because I'm telling you, a couple of errors, and these guys don't. The navigators are amazing. They're using a sextant. When you get up here, look right inside the equalization tube here, and you will see a dome, and that's what they hung their sextant in, so they could take celestial shots off stars and the sun, and then plot, and go over here and do some math, and take some more shots, and plot, and do some math, and then they'd tell the pilot, okay, we were here 10 minutes ago. Because in an airplane like this, you know where you're going, and you know where you've been, but you never know exactly where you are. We were lucky today. We know exactly where we are within 5 meters. It says, you're right here. Well, they didn't know that. They're slide ruling and compass over here, and the angle and the dangle, and we were there about 10 minutes ago. So if you're plotting that, and you see you're getting off course, then you can readjust and say, hey, we needed to make a 15-degree north adjustment because we're getting pushed over a little bit. And they were constantly doing that. So those guys, there was no jacking around if you were the navigator. You're the guy. You're the guy. Yeah.
I didn't realize that was such a high pressurized job. I mean, that was intense. Yeah.
You leave at 3 in the morning. See, if you're flying over Europe, it's a little different because you got a ton of landmarks down there. Oh yeah, there's that. There, I know our map. Yeah. Ocean?
No.
Hey, guess what? There's some more ocean. Isn't that amazing? And more ocean. No.
That's all there was out in the Pacific was water.
That's it.
Oh, is that an island? No, nope, rogue wave.
People don't realize just how much ocean there is out there until if you've ever flown from California to Hawaii, it's like,
oh yeah,
we're going 600 miles an hour and I haven't seen anything for the last hour and a half. 600 miles an hour.
I flew from Seattle to Japan.
Yeah.
Oh,
if I can even see the ocean, it's those clouds.
Not a good deal. Not a good deal. So, did he tell you about the remote control guns on the aircraft?
No.
Okay, so because of the pressurization, the guys in the front, the center of the aircraft, and the aft end of the aircraft, all those 3 crew positions were pressurized. So just like on an airliner, heat it, cool it, pump oxygen in. They didn't have to have the masks on, the heated flight suits, and all that rigmarole because it was pressurized and they could condition the air. Because of the pressurization, which by the way comes in through this tube, that's what the tube is actually designed for. It goes from the flight crew area here in the front to the center of the airplane. Center of the airplane, you had a radar operator and 3 gunners, and then they had a hatch look just like this forward and aft. So they're in kind of a little capsule. It's pretty good size too. When you guys are outside, if you look through those bubbles on the side, you can see the gun sights then that were developed because they didn't have open air gunners like they did on the 17 and the 24. Can't cut a hole in the side of a pressure vessel, or I can't maintain pressure. So they said, well, we'll develop these gun sights so they're electronically controlled. There's a computer that ran the gun turrets with a compensation signal, and it was all vacuum tube. It's an analog computer, so vacuum tube system. So the signal out of the gun sight ran into the computer, signal out of the computer ran a drive signal to the 50 caliber gun turrets and the motors in here, and then it would actually compensate the lead necessary for it. So if you get up close and you look at that sight that's in that bubble, you can actually see in the center of it, there's a little piece of glass at an angle and a light down here. It's an early heads-up display is what it is. You guys would look through that glass out at the threat. There was a series of like little dots across the screen, and these hand wheels would move those dots in and out. They would bracket the wings of the threat when he was way out there. Then that signal told the computer that's how far away that airplane is, because they knew the wingspan was about 38 to 42 feet on the craft they'd be throwing at us. And then as it came back to you, you just keep the hand wheels rotating and keep those dots expanding. That set the speed. So now it knows how fast it comes, it knows what the angle is to the aircraft, the azimuth to the aircraft, and all that information gets jumbled up in that analog computer. When the airplane would get within range of the B-29, the gun turret that was assigned to that gun sight would spool up and lead the airplane and fire.
Wow.
Now, keep that in mind from an environmental standpoint, okay? You're back in here, you got your headset on, you don't have the mask on, you can talk on the radio pretty easy, it's fairly quiet in there. You're firing a 50 caliber machine gun that's at least 25 yards away from you. That's not too bad. You can talk, hey Harry, I got him, I'm tracking him, da da da. Now, my dad, for example, you're standing in this window, and this wind is blowing in on your face. You got a mask on, a throat mic on, a heavy flight suit. You're trying to aim at this thing, and you're shooting the gun. If you've ever shot a 50 caliber machine gun, it's like this. Blah, 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 blah. Man, it shakes the hell out of you.
Oh, right.
And it's like, hey, so you're going to be accurate? I don't think so. You just kind of throw trucks at them and hope they hit it. It's like, yeah, that's just. So these guys really had it made. There's probably about 10 times more accurate than the manual gun.
Wow.
And then you have, if you're in a bomb group especially, that's a lot of things people don't think about. Think about the airplanes. They're going like this. The fighter's coming in like this. You not only have to want to try and aim at the fighter, but you don't want to shoot your buddy out of the sky too. So there's limited fields of fire. It's just, it's
a big mess.
It's a
Wow.
big mess. It's just
Yeah.
a big
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when Hollywood shows you the 12 o'clock high and old Harry's down there, you know, and he's going, la, 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 reaching up and grabbing his cigar. Yeah, I got it, Mom, I got it. It's like, oh, you can just let all that go. That's
No.
Pure Hollywood fiction.
Hollywood is
just,
best.
yeah. Nice
Makes
and
for a
cool-
good narrative.
Cool and calm and collected, I don't think so. I'm scared to death. That's like, man, I sure hope somebody else gets that guy.
Were there any good Hollywood movies that portrayed this type of warfare accurately? Like,
You know, I think probably one of the best ones that I've ever seen, and it's a later movie, is Memphis Belle.
okay.
That's pretty good because it kind of gives you a real good sense of the fear that those guys had every time they went up. Everyone, and you know, like before the flight early in the morning, nobody's sleeping.
Yeah.
You're all puking because, I mean, think about it. It's not like you're going out for a joyride. It's like
I know.
there's guys up there. Let me put it to you this way. When I was a little kid, probably about 12 or 13 years old, man, I haven't thought of this in years. And I got all spooled up about something. I don't even remember what it was because it's totally unimportant to the story. But my dad, he smoked like a fiend, and I said, I can't believe I've never seen you get upset or yell or anything like that. And he looked at me and he goes, son, let me tell you something. He said, when you are in a situation where you're getting paid by your government to get up every morning and go get in a piece of metal and fly around the ocean and try to shoot down somebody that's trying to kill you, and their government's paying them to do the same thing, if you finally make it back home to the United States, he goes, everything here is gravy. There is nothing. I could lose my job in the morning. I'll go get another one. That's never goes. He says, as long as your mother and you kids are okay, he said, life's a cakewalk. At the time, that didn't mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
As I got a little older and I'd start to spool up on something, I'd think of my dad. It's like,
Pretty good point. Yeah, he had something
so
there.
they call me Mr. Comatose on the cruise because I mean, people get all spooled up and I'm just going to stand there like, sun's coming up tomorrow, guys. Just relax. Yeah. I have absolutely no road rage. None. As a matter of fact, and I'm from Central California. Somebody cuts me off, I blow them a kiss. Have a nice day. You guys can go on up anytime.
Thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome.
Through the flight. And to your left is the navigator station where the map is. There's a signature on that map. It's signed by Dutch Van Kurt. He was the navigator on the Enola Gay for the Hiroshima mission. He signed that table when he flew in Fifi several years ago. The navigator could also use the Astrodome there at the front of the tunnel, where they could take star sightings at night and figure out their location. And then on the behind the flight engineer here to your left is the radio operator station.
Yeah.
You couldn't be too tall.
No. And in reality, that space where you're at would have been a lot tighter during the war because the turret mechanisms would have been protruding in there from the top and from the bottom.
Oh yeah.
The guns?
Yeah, that's where the turret is overhead. It's just that the actual mechanism's been removed to save weight. So that whole space in there, if you can just imagine a cylinder coming down from the
And would fill this
where you
circumference?
see the circle in the floor, that would have been a turret mechanism protruding up.
You kind
It
of
would have been a lot
move
tighter.
around.
About how high would it come up?
Maybe 3 feet or so.
Crew
3
would
feet
have to
from the
get
floor,
around
3
it
feet
because
from the ceiling.
all those shell casings had to be captured.
Okay.
So you know, fly them off into the
Oh yeah.
engine. So they were all, there's a big cylinder here for the mechanism.
Literally, you have to be a contortionist to get into this thing.
Capturing all the casings. Okay. So yeah, it was even tighter in here than it is now.
Wow. Hoping it's not
If you look,
claustrophobic.
if you look down the tunnel, you'll see there's a chair at the very end. That's where the central fire control station was, and that person was responsible for associating a gun sight with a turret. The turrets were all remotely controlled, and they could have multiple turrets aimed by an individual gun sight or one-on-one, depending on where the threat was coming from.
I'm guessing those fans have been added.
There were some fans, I think, back in the day, but
Okay.
these have been our replacements.
I also noticed a more modern speaker added to the radio.
Yeah. We burn about 400 gallons an hour of gasoline at cruise. It's about $5 a gallon for gas, so it's about $2,000 an hour just in fuel costs.
Jesus.
The flight controls are all manual, no hydraulic or power assist, so it's just the muscle of the pilot and co-pilot to make the plane do things.
Wow.
It's more of a truck than a sports car.
Yeah, that killer biceps.
You know, you can watch there's large inputs to just make, you know, subtle banks and turns and things like that.
Does that view out the front window look familiar to anybody? It inspired George Lucas for the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say.
Now it does, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see any gold dice hanging anywhere though.
No, none of any, about 4 different generations of them. Variations of them.
Wow. So, how many missions did this fly? You know.
This particular B-29 was delivered July 31st, 1945.
Oh, okay.
So that was only 10 days before the second bomb drop to end the war. So it never left the States,
Okay.
but it was used to train crews that ended up going to Korea.
Oh, okay. So they use these in Korea too.
That's right.
Okay. These things do a lot of damage in Korea.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen the right stuff, it was a B-29 modified to carry the X-1 with which Chuck Yeager burst the sound barrier.
Okay.
That bomb bay was, both bomb bays in fact were converted to carry the X-1 underslung. It wasn't completely enclosed and
Oh, wow.
popped out and off he went.
Oh, okay. So they use these things a lot for a lot of different things even after Korea.
It was so technologically advanced for the time.
Okay.
The pressurization of the interior, the electronics for the remote control turrets, all controlled by vacuum tube analog computer in the back. I mean, it was just it was an amazing technological achievement for the time.
And they use these in Europe too, right?
Never actually flew a combat mission in Europe.
Okay.
Because its huge range was really kind of designed
Okay.
for the Pacific War. If you look at the way they prosecuted the Pacific War, everything they did was with the design of eventually having to invade Japan.
Okay.
And by the time it got operational, we sort of had Europe in there.
Okay.
The 17s and the 24s and the Lancasters that the British were flying all sort of had the necessary range to accomplish everything.
Okay. KM4RC, was that like their call letters or?
All of the radios, even the original radios, are still functional. We just use more.
Yeah, that's a
modern-
that's a modern call sign.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You a ham guy?
I'm not licensed yet, but I've got
Know
an
your way
interest.
around a radio frequency.
Just for the hydraulics?
Looking at the wire bundles, I'm thinking, oh, what a nightmare.
That is our. That's the hydraulic reservoir.
For the brakes now?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
everything else was electric because there was the fear of losing hydraulic pressure and being able to land this giant thing.
Okay.
Very nicely done.
I think we're running out of space.
equipment here?
Leave that one alone. I couldn't tell you. All right, we got some more coming up. If you want
You are ready to go down. If you put your left hand here and your right hand here,